really exploring the self. Like, we've been given this beautiful, gorgeous machine. Like, this is God at its finest. This is design at its
Oh my God.
finest. You cannot find any other thing. Like, not even man-made design is as beautiful as what we've been gifted. You need to create your own language. And then other people will start to understand what you're saying because they're actually resonating with you on a energetic level. They don't need to. They don't need to understand what you're saying. You know, I have so many people on my TikTok account. It's like, I love them because they come and say, I didn't understand a word she said.
Really?
Nothing. And it's really funny because they resonated, they're here, they're interacting. And it really is. It's about opening your heart and just expressing it in a way that feels good to you without attaching to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one more episode in our podcast. Today, I have a great honor of introducing you to Säga. Säga is a wellness designer and she's also known as the To Feel Good connoisseur. She likes to think of herself as the bridge between humanity and harmony. In this episode, we talk about the different ways to enhance your human experience, different ways to express the creativity that lays in every one of us. We also talk about life, God, love, and compassion. Thank you for being here, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, to follow us on Spotify or in your favorite audio platform, and yes, stay until the end. My name is Jordan, welcome.
First of all, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate a lot that you give yourself the opportunity to talk and share your thoughts and your mind with us. Very excited of what you have to say. Säga, welcome to our audience. Welcome to our space where we talk about art and explore life through philosophy.
Love that.
So welcome.
Thank you. Amazing.
As an introduction of who you are, this is what I can say, what I catch in small words. It's like you work on the engineering, the thought process of humans, which sounds amazing, you know? This is what I catch, this is what I can tell you, but it's for you to tell us exactly how your mind works, what you do, what's your mission in life, and these kind of things. But before we start, I want to start with a question, like a little philosophical. Like, to you, what is the meaning of life, Säga?
Wow, that question itself. It's going to be the rest of my life trying to explain this one question. What is the meaning of life
for you? Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we have to first deconstruct what life means. And I think if I was just to break it down, is life is about creation and just being here and creating. I think it's really, you could deconstruct it in so many different ways, that it's about expression, it's about connection, it's about discovery, but all of these things ultimately kind of comes under the umbrella of creation. And I think each word that we kind of unfold within philosophy or within life is connected to at least hundreds of other words, and they are all just another side of the coin to what life is. So it's ultimately, I think if we can just create whilst we're here, because we're not here really for a long time.
No, it's so short.
So that's I think my short answer.
Okay, that makes sense. So embracing what we are. So we are creators. I heard this before. As a nature, as we are made to create. I mean, because we create, you know. So that makes a lot of sense, the way you see it as well. So that being said, what is the passion of your life, Säga?
Self-discovery.
Self-discovery.
discovering who Saga is, why she's here, how she likes to explore and express and create. I think it's my full-time job, you know, it's my job to have this running, optimized in full gear. And I think that is my mission, my passion, the thing that excites me. I think just really exploring the self. Like, we've been given this beautiful, gorgeous machine. Like, this is God at his finest. This is design at its finest. God. You cannot find any other thing. Like, not even man-made design is as beautiful as what we've been gifted. So exploring this, learning about it, seeing how it interacts, like documenting the data and, you know, seeing how you can play around and explore it. I think that is what I like to do for the rest of my life. But I think also it's a curiosity for me. You know, I'm just curious. It's a thing that excites me. But wow. Yeah.
So like finding the path to yourself, no? Finding the way to yourself.
Yeah. And it depends, you know, like when we again talk about something like exploring myself, it's like, what is the self? On a multi-dimensional level, of course, it's all the things that I like to explore, but ultimately within the exploring that I've done, like for some parts of my life, I think we always come back to this one point. And that one point is that you are actually not a self, but that is on a much more metaphysical, spiritual level. That is another domain to discover. But again, we cannot really forget about the fact that we have this machine, like out of God knows how many opportunities, we've been given the opportunity to live. And if we're here, then I want to play the game. I want to know. I want to explore this.
Wow. And were you always curious like this, or did you always have this desire of exploring and embracing life since you were a child, or it came in the way? Or like, did you awaken this desire, or it was awake? How did it work for
you? I think every child doesn't have to self-discover. The children, when we are children, to a certain point where we start to build an intentional identity, up until then, really you're just playing, you know, you are life at its fullest. You don't really need to do self-discovery. You're doing self-discovery by just existing and playing. From there, I think for me, I mean, I can only speak from a personal perspective. And for me, it started when I wanted to start healing. My healing journey was really the path that gave me hope, but also it gave me really this interactive play that was my playground. My healing journey was my playground. I could really go into this playground and try all these multiple different things in different ways and see how my body reacts, whether I like it, whether I don't like it. Sometimes I speak in third person, so if I say she likes it, that's just me. But in general, yeah, I think my healing journey was really the path to activating this curiosity in me. But again, people have it in different ways. You know, people spark this curiosity in different ways.
Yeah, because there is always a point in life of each individual where it's just like the starting point of a journey to yourself. I've seen that some people never do that. Some people do it at an early age. Some people at the adult age. To me, it's very interesting what triggers this desire to self-discovery, and which way we take. Because at the end, I think you have to find what is the art you can do easily, you know, like the thing that comes naturally as your ability, you know. And what is it one for you?
Yeah. For me, okay, so this is interesting, right? So if I was to rewind back to my early 20s, then I used to sit down with my friends and we would have very philosophical chats, but it wasn't necessarily about self-discovery. It was about life. And we were trying to first figure out life, of why am I here? And I think that question then very quickly turns and it's like, well, who am I that is living this life? So, and then if we were to then like take it back a little bit back, we would then be like, well, what environments was I in order to activate the questioning of life?
Wow.
So my father was quite not super philosophical, but he was quite a debater. He would debate things, and I think that's quite beautiful to have very conscious debates with your children, and we did that together, and that kind of really build that part of my identity that was confident and comfortable enough to come forth and say, I have something to say about life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. That's
so
so
I think it kind of goes back, and it's ultimately the mapping out of what is this experience in front of us. You know, we live this life through this sensory experience, and within that, it's like, well, why does it that do that? And if I do this, this happens. So this action and reaction process is it could either be a conscious one or an unconscious one, and I think it's an ongoing process, you know.
Yeah. So interesting how different it is for each human, you know, how we are shaped in so different ways, but we find each other. It looks to me like a synth path that we souls travel in the space of time, and we find each other. I mean, the ones we are resonating with the same ideas and thought. I don't know if you understand what I said, but it seems like it's like that to me, you know.
Yeah, I think
So
you will naturally gravitate towards the people that you need to synchronize with, because none of this stuff really happens when we are sitting. I mean, it does partially. It happens 50-50. You're on your own, you're contemplating, you're, you know, in deep meditation or deep thinking. And yes, that's perfect, but you have to actually export your mind. And once you have exported this information, then they can complete what you were thinking, you know? So this is all a web. If we were to just think of this, let's say 8 billion people as web, we're all connected. So exactly like you're saying, you will just on a much more metaphysical level, by, let's say, destiny, just synchronize naturally. That's the law of nature, connection.
Wow, in the whole ecosystem of life, no?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So in the email you sent me, you mentioned that based on your human design chart, came here to fulfill your mission of life. Can you dive us through what is this human design
So
chart?
I'm still learning about human design, and I only know about my own human design. But I like, as part of my self-discovery journey and my curiosity for pretty much exploring all different modalities of health, wellness, I tapped into human design. I'm not an expert. I don't know much, but what it did tell me, it said that I am on this earth to bring freshness. And that word brought out so much connection for me, to a point that I was like, wow, all of these other parts of me that I hid and I was doubting, that's all part of this freshness that I'm about to take to the world. And it was really a point for me to be like, oh, I'm going to choose that and make it part of my identity. Because ultimately, this self-discovery is about creating conscious identities and personalizing who you want to be consciously. And this freshness just, it did it for me. Aside from that, it's like I just like to explore my charts. Like I love my astrology, to just read my everyday chart. I love to tap into sometimes the numerology. Yeah, like sometimes I discover some energy fields and what my type of energy resonates with. So that way I then avoid certain things and situations. So it's all about like this, basically taking the data that all these very advanced techniques have shown you, and then for you to learn a little bit about yourself.
Wow. When you mentioned numerology, there's a subject that I'm very interested in. I have no knowledge, I'm zero knowledge, but I'm diving into, and I would like to talk a little bit maybe after this. So yeah, the human design chart, that's gonna be interesting. What do you think of God?
God.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love God. Like I love God I honestly, if you don't do this, and to whoever is listening, I need you to do this. Walk around and just say, I love you, God. Like just say, I love you, God, over and over and over again. And gosh, your you would just, like your frequency would be completely different. You will just be vibrant and alive. And what I think about it, it's again a question that we can deconstruct. It's like, well, what is it? Why is it a thing? What does it do? It's again one of those infinite dimensional really phenomenons of life. Well, if I was to just start with that, everything is God. Your God, this tripod is God, this water is God, everything is God. These words are God, everything is God. I think if we just start with that, then I like to live through God because that's my way of purifying my karmic pattern. I'm aware that I'm this body, but really is energized and sourced by the divine, and that it is here to experience itself. So I am just God experiencing myself through this expression that it's been given, which is Saga. Yeah. But I think what has happened to make it a little bit more tangible for you is that over the past couple of years, perhaps, I have truly made it my mission to connect to God every single second of my life. And I recommend to anyone or anything is like, find your God and practice being with God. You will just be floating through life. Like if you let whatever God means for you just navigate you and to curate your life for you, then it will be the most beautiful life experience any man or woman has lived on this planet.
Well, so you are, yeah, that was coming to my second question, because I felt you with a very strong connection to the one, talking in the mathematical perception of what's God, not the number one. And then it comes the second, so it's the beginning of everything. No? So I felt that you have this vibe, and you have this. I felt the feeling of deepness with God. So I was going to ask you how to get close to Him, because
how to get too close to God.
Yeah. I've been having a couple of conversations with different philosophies of life, and one of them is Tantra. So Tantra has this philosophy like everything is God, same as you said, and they have their own way to get to God. So I was going to ask you, what way you can get closer to that in your
Okay. So
knowledge?
I know exactly. Exactly. That's funny. No, I don't know exactly. But see, this is self-awareness and self-discovery. It's so funny and
you see
fun
that?
and playful. I love it. It's
Yeah.
like it's so fun. So here's the thing, right? I think if we were to look at it at a visual perspective of the earth being this very dense energy and this dense space. And within this dense space, what happens is that humans, we come on earth with a lot of densities, and we have our spirit and souls who are basically experiencing this with us. But for me, getting close to God means emptying yourself so you can live a lighter life. So then staying empty is really my terminology for connecting with God. Now, if we were to then say, well, what does staying empty means? It connects to many different pillars, but one of them is detachment. And detachment being that you cannot really detach to things because that would weigh you down. You can't attach to your identity. You can't attach to things that you like and you desire. Like for me, if I was able to detach from things that activates my human ego, then that would be a way for me to stay empty, for the divine frequency to work through me. Now, that doesn't come from the Buddhist perspective of no beautification, no intercourse. They have a very strict set of rules. For me, it's slightly different, where it's experience things, actually go in there and play life, try it, and then move on to the next. See what else life has for you to offer. And just really flow through life and just stay empty, When you dance with life, it becomes so beautiful to a point that you just become the creator of your own reality. And that's, I guess, what the whole process of manifestation is about, is you just gotta empty yourself, purify your intentions, and from there, just know the functionality of who you are and what you are really here to do, because naturally humans do attach to things. That's natural. But we are conscious beings. So as long as you're conscious, self-aware, just flow through life and stay empty. Once you stay empty, life is great.
Okay, so I think what you have said is like, you put a lot of emphasis on having critical thinking. Because when you said, let everything flow, and you mentioned Buddhism, no? It reminds me of what Solomon said on the Proverbs. He said, like, it's not good that you give your heart to everything. It's said, everyone says around, but it's good that you take the good from here, the good from here, the good from here, and the bad, let it go. So basically, that is, to me, the philosophy you have, it was like that, And I was also going to ask you the concept of nothingness, concept you have on your the company name, and I think it's more like the what you're striving, no, the emptiness. But I do not understand the concept really
of
you
emptiness.
Have explained a little now, but I would like you to dive in more into.
Okay, so emptiness is about. So let's say if you were able to, and nothingness is different to emptiness, because nothing is no thing. And it's, although it's same, but it's different. So the things that we identify with, identity and identification is linked to logic. And when we have to make sense of things over the course of our time, we basically create this library of meaning in our head. So you have your own library of meaning, and that's how you make sense of your life. So in your library of meaning, you're going to have emotions that you are able to vocabularize through language. You have these feelings and emotions that you know through your senses what they feel like. So through logic and creating meaning, we then basically create things. We create life. And what nothingness and emptiness is just the observation of those things, but not attaching to them.
So it's to be aware. Is that what you mean? To be aware of
being aware.
That happens to you.
Yeah, being aware, but also really, it's not really a task. It's not something that you do. It's just something that you play with, and you are. You know, like you're not being aware. You just are aware. Well, what we tend to do is that we do things to do things, and we don't need to do anything. Like, for example, and this is a really interesting thing to tap into now, is that we say we are doing or we are aware. Actually, the awareness is just there. So if you were to take away the meaning of awareness, then you are empty. You don't have that library of meaning. That library of meaning has had its observation. It's been observed. We understand what this awareness is. And from there, we decide to not continue with the library of meanings. And if we were to just really go through life and say, oh, this is a pen. Yes, it is a pen, but it could be thousands of other things. If I was to let go and detach to my library of meaning, so that way you are emptying your definition of what a thing is in order to flow through life and experience more.
Yeah, but we come to the whole point of existing, experiencing the life, the process of life. Okay, I think I have understand more in a deep way what is this nothingness or emptiness. Emptiness is because I never hear this concept. It's the first time.
Yeah.
Someone.
Also, a good thing to acknowledge here is that you first, in order to understand nothingness, you have to tap into epistemology, and you have to understand what meaning is and what creation is. And when you have something to detach from and be empty from, then you can go and practice emptiness.
So it requires knowledge as well, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we are basically going around in circle. We're finding meanings so that we can disconnect from meanings. Not disconnect, but detach from meanings. And again, all of these things are just playful ways of living life and discovering life. I know so many people that don't do any of this stuff, and they are happy. Like they live out in nature, and they're not is aware or is empty. They are just living their best life because they are not really identifying with anything but life.
Yeah, this is what it becomes identification. It means limitation. with identification comes limitation. Wow. So let's talk about the TikTok video, Saga. Let's talk about your creative process doing these videos. I find it very poetic the way you put the words out. It's penetrating the mind, and creativity comes. What's your creative process on that? How do you put the inspiration, or where do you get your knowledge? Basically, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So where do I get my knowledge?
Yeah, kind of like, what's the process of creation of your creative process?
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone has a creative process.
Yeah.
Doing art.
Yeah. So it depends. So it depends what I'm working on, and but as you mentioned on TikTok, so it starts with a rough idea. So actually, the one specific one, the Soul School, which is the one about
that's
creating.
what I want to ask you.
Yeah, the school for unlearning.
This is what I want to ask.
And this links to our conversation prior to this, that I was in a meditative state. I was relatively empty. I was really allowing insights to come through without detaching to my day-to-day thoughts. I wasn't distracting myself. And I had this idea. I was like, a school for unlearning. And when I say I had this idea, I didn't have this idea. This idea had me. This idea literally was like, I will take her. She can do this idea. She can formulate this idea. And from there, I just came out and I was thinking about what that means to me. And ultimately, that's how I write my scripts. I just write about the things that I want to see. I want to really push my own limits. So if I already have thought of something, I just ask God, I ask Saga, I ask everyone in the metaphysical realms. And I'm like, how can we push this forward? Like, the people have already heard this. Let's expand and stretch this idea. And it might take me an hour to write a script. It might take me like 3 days, 4 days. I think it doesn't usually go over 5 days right now. But I then just write whatever comes to me. And then with the poetry element of things, I love descriptive writing. I love to explore how words are formulated. And I think there is always a creative way to express something. So
yeah, of course,
that's how I choose to use words that activate feelings. And that is actually how I create. I create so that it feels good. And when it feels good to me, I'm 90%, 95% sure it would feel good to you and anyone who will be watching. And it's a very intuitive process. It's a very, it's not easy. I have to tell you that. The process of actually developing an idea is like a game between the divine and this ego here, and we are just like back and forth, because I write something and then the divine doesn't like it, and then they write something and I reject it, and it's a process of self-discovery when you're creating. It's enlightening.
How do you know when the divine doesn't like it?
It doesn't feel good. So when I write something from an egoic space, it doesn't feel good. So I listen, and I say it out loud. I write a script, I say it out loud, and then I just listen to my body. If the body likes it, then that's a signal. That's a good signal from God and divine.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have a deep, strong trust on it.
Oh,
on the intuition,
1000%.
on the intuition.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's yeah. I mean, intuition definitely, but also we have to be, or at least I'm very aware of purifying myself over and over again so I don't go into deceptions, because we are so smart. Humans are so incredibly intelligent, and any human can manipulate their own belief, and I always have to just empty myself, center, and surrender, and literally say out that I am emptying myself. Please come in and do the work.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about your perception of reality? So you have an ideas of what is right and what is wrong, or I don't know the way you get introduced to God. I don't know if it was religious or it was by only feeling it. So do you have to fight with those limitations when the ideas are flowing, or not at all? You are completely surrendered.
The process of life is that polarity, is that me and God, there is that distinction. That's how we call ourselves I. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, it's a process of not fighting, but it's like you're playing. Whenever you're like creating reality, you have all the infinite possible ways of the outcomes that it possibly can be. And also there is this other metaphysical concept of everything is already what it is in your head. So just as an example, the videos that I'll be making over the next one or infinite, so my lifetime, I guess, is already made. It's already out there. Like everything is already curated and presented. The job really is to then formulate them in this sensory experience. Yeah.
Wow. So it looks like our job as a human is to take what it is and translate it to an understandable language.
Yeah, I mean that's one way of communication, language. Art, of course, that's another way of communicating. It's just like I think expression in every way. I personally love frequency work. People who chant and they express themselves through like frequency. But somewhat it's linked to singing, of course. But that's another way of communicating, I guess. But I think you could definitely communicate with all your different senses. So you could communicate with just your eyes. You can communicate with your sense of smell. I don't know how, but I think definitely that's a thing. So yeah, as long as you're using your senses, you're communicating something.
Do you find English language enough to express what is inside your mind and everything of you?
Well, I guess it's enough because it's doing the work that it's got to do right now. The question I'm assuming you're asking, would I like more? I think I don't need more. I need to play more.
Okay.
Because language, like maths, can be infinite, because it's really up to us how much we expand that library of meaning. And as long as we're able to create that library of meaning, then yes, language is enough. But I don't know what the word enough means, because as long as you're able to formulate the idea that you have for now, that's enough. That's good.
Okay. That's what I meant. Yeah, because to me sometimes it happens that I have ideas or I have this vision, I don't find a way to express them, and when I try to write them down, I don't find the words. not in Spanish, not in English. But then it comes painting, and painting sometimes it has something to express the vision. So I wonder how that was for you. You feel the same sometimes.
So it's
Or English is
practice.
not.
It's practice. Obviously, naturally, like I'm Iranian and we speak Farsi. And if we were to compare languages, there are languages that definitely express feelings and vocabularize what certain emotions are. And they are very poetic. And honestly, like I listen to Persian poetry sometimes, and I don't even understand it, but I feel it. And
Wow.
I think.
But do you speak Persian?
Yeah, thankfully.
Wow.
Not as well as I wished, because I speak mainly English, living obviously in London. But in general, in Farsi, it's a much more poetic and emotional exchange when you are saying something, like saying I love you in Farsi. It's got a much more just fire. Whereas you say something like, oh, I love you. And it depends again what it's charged with, the intention that it's charged with. But I think that's probably another reason why I'm getting creative with English as a language, because if I was just to say it in a very generic way of everything meaning what it means, like water means water and black means black and the square is square, that's quite boring. But if I was then to say like water is square, and that is a little bit more exciting. And I think ultimately, to perhaps suggest something to you, is you need to create your own language. And then other people will start to understand what you're saying because they're actually resonating with you on a energetic level. They don't need to.
Yeah.
They don't need to understand what you're saying. I have so many people on my TikTok account. It's like I love them because they come and say, I didn't understand a word she said.
Really?
Nothing. And it's really funny because they resonated, they're here, they're interacting. And it really is. It's about opening your heart and just expressing it in a way that feels good to you without attaching to it. Just let it go, because let's say you don't have one opportunity to express something. You have infinite amount of opportunities to express something. So if you want to say something regarding to an event or a situation, express it today, express it tomorrow, express it the day after. And trust me, you will build your own language. And that's the beauty of experimenting and creating.
Wow. Interesting. And what has been the books that have changed your life?
What is the
or the book?
The book.
Which books have make the most positive impact on your journey, Saga?
Well, there is one book that I think it's the ultimate book, is by Donald Neil Walsh. The way he has written this book, and it's actually 3 books in one. So I listened to, I think it's called The Complete Conversation with God.
That's how it's called?
Yeah.
The book?
And it's The Complete, because then it's 3 books in one. And I have it on audiobook. And this book for me is something, it's my mentor, is my coach. I listen to it when I have problems. I listen to it when I'm happy. And it basically says everything that we're talking about in the most beautiful, articulated ways. And there is humor. The audio version is beautiful. It's incredible. It's the book that, if anyone says, what is the one book that in my life I need to listen to, it's this one.
Complete Conversation. We got that. That's a really interesting, complete conversation we got. Okay.
Yeah.
So just another one. I guess you have read more than that, no?
It's funny because I wasn't ever a reader. I have a few that have kind of like changed my life. Radical Honesty by Blad Blainton is also an incredible book about really clearing your deceptions and coming to what it means to be truthful, because humans, we are full of things, and that's the polarity with emptiness. So being truthful and really emptying yourself, that kind of defines that very nicely. Those are the two books that are a must. Like you can't mess around with those. You have to. I think from there, it depends again which stages of your journey you're on. I mean, originally I started with Eckhart Tolle just to understand the basics of ego. And back then I was much younger, and just naturally when you read a book, you basically are given the information you're ready for now, and you don't have to finish the book. Just read whatever you resonate with and gravitate towards, and then move on to the next book. And that's just the rhythm of collecting information then for you to basically create your identity and personality around. But the God book is different. That's a everyday book, must book.
Wow. It looks like you have a very intuitive mind. Like you don't have to walk the ocean of knowledge. You only look to the door and you understand everything. You know what I mean? It looks like you have this kind of mind. You know what I mean?
Yes, but also I had to work for it. It didn't come just handed over to me. I had to really work for it. Again, it depends like what your things are that you get creative and curious about. This is my passion, you know. So intuition being part of it. But I'm just exploring myself, you know.
You mentioned in some of your videos, you mentioned truth is storytelling. Storytelling of truth. How important is that?
I mean, we're telling stories right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you say truth, what does it mean? It means to be more out. Is it authenticity? What do you mean?
The truth? It depends which truth you mean. It depends whether you mean truth with a capital T, or just the truth, which is a much more observational perspective. When I say truth, I mean the ultimate truth, the truth of God, truth with a capital T. And somewhat it links to nothingness, to the void, to the ultimate, to the infinite. That's the truth I mean. So when I say tell stories that mirror the truth, it means to be so pure, to be full of joy and love and clarity, for your words to not have anything that has deception, to not detach to anything that is anything aside from love.
Okay.
So if you're able to tell stories in a much more purified way that really just expresses joy, love, and godlyhood.
That word.
Yeah, you just that's the way to tell stories. There's also just something else to add on here, that one of the things that I very intentionally wanted to do with my work, with content creation, is I don't use words that have a low frequency. And that is somewhat the playing of the back and forth I was telling you about earlier, about if the divine doesn't like you or it doesn't feel good. Partly that's really responsible. I'm responsible for the words I use. but every single word is very intentionally used to higher your frequency. When I say something, I'm not just saying it because it looks good, but I'm saying it because it feels good and it has a higher frequency. So actually choosing words that have a much more higher vibrational frequency is really the reason why these videos sound good.
Wow. And do you make a word research, like, or you use the same strategy if the divine accepted or not accepted? Do you use always that, or you have like a dictionary?
I've built my own dictionary. That's really funny that you ask.
Okay.
I basically, and that's part of how my brain works, because there is just so many information that needs categorizing. And with the categorization comes the process of building a library for myself that is Saga's library, and it feels good and it's going to feel good to other people. So yes, and I categorize them by really which domains they link to. So I have spiritual words, I have futuristic words, I have words that feel good and they are happy words. I have words that are like descriptive. So, for example, I don't say red, I might say something linked to our flesh. And that way it kind of then brings in this definition of red. So I have like ways of describing things. So yeah,
that's pure poetry, Saga.
And I was never a writer. Wow. Just for you and whoever is listening, I was never a writer. I was just able to deconstruct my own language preference and then to work on it and practice it.
Wow, it's incredible. It's amazing and incredible how much beauty you can add to something you say, you know, and if you use the right words, even the right intonation, because you also have the right intonation, you know, you say, I will build a city, you know.
I think that's natural. That's imagination. And we should really, and no, we shouldn't. It's not that we should. It will be nice if we were to understand the difference between creativity and imagination. Creativity is something that we are. Everything is creative. But if we were to imagine things, let's imagine a world or a city or a school that operates in this way, then this way, that's a door to a whole nother set of ideas and videos and conversations and connections. Like it's inspiring. Imagination is inspiring.
Wow. Well, so now I see you have a workshop coming up when you're gonna share your powers. Your powers. If I can say that, you know, if it's not too arrogant, but yeah, what are you gonna say? Share your knowledge, you know?
Yeah,
tell us a little bit.
I rarely do workshops, and I just had this calling that I thought it would be cool to do a very short workshop. It's a 2-hour workshop. It's next week on Sunday, 25th. And it's for anyone who wants to stretch their imagination and to activate their creative mind. And for me, it's really about really coming together. So it's a 5-seated workshop. There's not that many of us. And I would just be sharing what we briefly spoke about, but there is a specific formula that I use to unfold this infinite intelligence. And I'll be sharing that.
Wow.
But also with and the mindset that you need, you know, we talk about all these things, but really it's for me, I think it's very important to set the mindset and the lifestyle you need to have for these things to work. So it's 2 hours. We'll be doing 1 hour this way and 1 hour that way. And yeah, it's just really for us to stretch our imagination. And to, of course, to whoever is listening to this specific podcast, I wanted to give a special discount because I really do love your work. So anyone who is listening, email me directly and I'll give you a 20% discount and come and explore life with me, I guess.
Thank you. All the information will be on the description of this episode. So there will be your email and everything.
Thank you.
So that's cool. That's amazing. You know, when you was talking about an idea of an app where you can have your therapist, whoever, wisdom, I have thought of this idea before I looked at your video.
Good.
Because I was struggling in thoughts because my account, my Instagram account, I'm trying to expand and explore everything that we can do. So I thought it would be cool to have an AI powered app where you can ask based on what knowledge we have of Socrates, for example. What Socrates will do in this situation if you're looking for advice or something. And I watched your video and that was, I thought, but you thought and you put it out. Because you have the ability, you have work on the process of translating the vision, And I was like,
And I want to tell you something, cool, Jordan. We're not the only people that thought about this idea. And thousands of other people have thought about it. And in fact, actually, people have built the app, which I love. And what I love about TikTok is that, like, we propose something and I come up with this thing. And then people say, I just thought about that last night with someone. And I have also people that say, this is this. So then I had this one person, they literally send me the apps and I have it on my phone. And it's actually quite good. And I was like, that is just incredibly well done. And I love it. I love when I put out an idea and they are like, oh, this one's done. And I'm like, great, that's amazing. It hardly happens though, I have to say. I want it to happen more often. My dream goal is to generate these ideas and to have someone from the following list or the comments to actually take the idea, and I would happily mentor them. And I would just tell them how to navigate through this idea. So that app is already done.
Amazing. Because everything, whatever dream, whatever vision, through engineering, it can be made.
Yeah.
There is way to make everything. Like, there is a path to everything. So to close this session, this conversation, Saga, I would like for you to describe the perfect world, the perfect life. Perfect, it may be a word that is not the one I want to use, but how can I say, you desired lifestyle, including environment and lifestyle. Yeah.
For me?
To enhance.
For me?
Yeah.
Wow.
For you, like because I think you already have this. Isn't you the need or the vision of enhanced human experience? Or
okay.
Make it amazing. So I think you can leave us with something.
Okay. Wow.
Some of that you have in your mind. You know what I mean?
So I love my life right now, and I've come to a point where I am close to God on most times, or I try to at least. And that is really the life I want to live forever. I think if you mean what lifestyle in terms of materialistic realm I want to live in, I love where I am now because it's basically very DIY, and it's at a path where I am just doing everything and it's so amazing and it's beautiful and I have the personal power to express myself. I love that. In terms of what is the perfect world,
Yeah, exactly. Like the way you paint a city.
okay.
Like
Then if we were to say it in that way, there's too many. I don't have the perfect one. I have perfects. But I think there's one thing that I would emphasize the perfect life on, and it's balance. If we were to just able to live a balanced life, regardless of what the environment looks like, then I think we can live a harmonious life. So really emphasizing on distinctions between things and to just stay neutral and to just bounce back and forth. Right now, where the world is, of course, we have a lot of things happening that are much denser and somewhat include suffering. And on the other side, we have all of this beauty of nature and really living on planet Earth. That itself is like
yeah,
such an experience. So if we were to then just balance our existence on a daily basis, and of course it includes a lot of like self-intelligence and really learning who you are as a person, and as you say, the engineering of our emotions. And through that, I think we could live a balanced life. That would be quite a perfect place to be in.
that's a beautiful message. Beautiful message. Do you know in philosophy on my Instagram account? That's the message we send always. Because after all, what is to do if not have a balanced life?
Yeah.
They say like not the nor the excess nor the abstinence has ever make a human happy. So if you go doing excess on things, you won't be happy. If you absent yourself
Yeah.
of many things, you won't be happy either. So it's a beautiful
Yeah.
message that you
It's a
that
beautiful
give us
message that
balance.
you have.
It reinforces the
I just
idea,
repeated what
and
Jordan
yeah,
says.
it reinforces the idea of a happy life. Well, Saga is a very pleasure.
Thank you. Honestly, it's
It's a
so
big honor.
energetic when you speak to people that, again, very high frequency and full of joy and love. I think that's the ultimate, isn't it? Is to understand that everything is love, and it's
Yeah,
great to experience that with you, and it's great to see that in you.
they say the love is the ultimate goal in life,
Yeah.
the amen of the universe.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for your time, and thank you for really opening up this portal for people to think and discover. And you're giving people a way to self-discover, and I love that.
That's the same to you. You do the same that like and you do it amazing,
We're all here to do that same
amazing,
thing.
amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's the point of life. No, that's the ultimate meaning of
Yeah,
life.
definitely.